Today we're going to be working with investigating characteristics of quadratic functions. So it tells me to consider the quadratic function y equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. It says we're going to use the table function of the graphing calculator to make a table of the values for a domain of all integers from -3 to 5. So in the x column, I want y'all to write -3 all the way to +5. It says plot the points on the coordinate graph below. Connect the points with a smooth U shape called a parabola. So you should have a U shape in your graph. Okay, so I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to go to y equals. In y1, I'm going to type in x squared minus 2x minus 3. And we go to second graph in order to pull up the table. Now it tells me I'm going to list out the points from -3 all the way to +5. So if you look, your y values should range from 12 all the way back to 12 again. So you should have this table copied down. It should look like this, and then I want you to plot the points on your graph, and your graph should look like this. Okay, now that you guys got the graph copied down, let's look at B. It says the point where the graph turns is called the vertex, and it wants us to write the coordinate of the vertex. Guys, remember what I said in class. My vertex is going to be my highest or my lowest point. So we should be looking at this point right here. And I want to know what are the coordinates of that point. So what you should have for your vertex is 1, -4. My x value, I went over 1 and I went down to -4. Now, if y'all look at the next question, it says, in this case, do you think this would be called a minimum or a maximum, and why? What y'all should have said is that this is going to be a minimum. The reason it is a minimum is because it is the lowest point of my parabola. If the vertex would have been the highest point, which means my graph would have actually been an N or upside down U, that would be my maximum. So if I have a low point, it's a minimum. The highest point is a maximum. Okay, so let's look at part C. Part C says the graph is symmetrical to a vertical line through the vertex. Okay, it says draw a dotted line on the graph representing this line, and we're going to write the equation of the line for the axis of symmetry. Okay, so what it tells me to do is that I'm going to draw a vertical line through my vertex. So again, remember, this is my vertex right here. So I'm going to draw a dotted line. So if I draw a vertical dotted line through that point, it wants to know what that line is. Now, my axis of symmetry, guys, we already said that my vertex was 1, -4. The easiest way for you to answer what my axis of symmetry is, it's always going to be an x equals, okay? And it's always going to be whatever the x value is of my vertex. So my axis of symmetry is actually x equals 1. So on part C, where it asks me to graph the symmetrical vertical line through the vertex, that's what that dotted line was, okay? And then wants me to write the equation. So the equation is going to be x equals 1. It will always be the x value of my vertex. Okay, so what I want y'all to do is look at the back of this worksheet. Okay, you're going to answer D, E, F, G, and H. On problem D, you should be able to tell me what the y-intercept is and answer those two questions. Remember, the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. Part E asks me for two x-intercepts, so give me both points on where it crosses the x-axis. Part F says for me to find the factors of the expression. Guys, on F, you're going to SPT, okay? And then you're going to answer that question. For G and H, all you're going to do is answer those questions. We will discuss D through H in class tomorrow.